motherfucking 51 motherfucking seconds of motherfucking logos. Previously on Night at the Museum. Seriously, do we really need to recap the main beats of the first movie? Is someone watching a Night at the Museum sequel without knowing about the initial entry? It's like someone watching Horrible Bosses 2 without watching Horrible Bosses, and that person would be an asshole. Christ, there are so many fucking opening credits to this movie. Take a classic Woody Allen movie, inject it in the nutsack with steroids and HGH, then blast it with the same gamma radiation that made the Hulk, and that's this movie's opening sequence. We wouldn't dare play the score, but it's a very haunting number that is being wasted on a shot of shipping crates. Spooky.
What if this was your house?
Still duration.
George Foreman, ladies and gentlemen!
Using George Foreman as your celebrity endorsement in 2009. This would be like putting Simon Cowell in a Scooby-Doo movie from 2020. Glad that didn't happen.
No, let's hold off on the victory parade till we close.
Is this a character in a movie not partaking in a premature celebration? I don't even know how to compute that. Let's see. Carry the one, dot the I, and, yep, still a sin. Also, main character is a humorless dickhead that will eventually see the light after a romping adventure in a movie cliche, otherwise known as the Tim Allen. It clearly says closed for renovations, but Larry just walks on in there unimpeded. I know he's got a history here and everything, but that revolving door is unsecured, man. You don't think the homeless folks would be mobbing this place if it were so easy to infiltrate?
Come for one of your nostalgia tours?
Ricky Gervais isn't egotistically roasting celebrities at an award show in this scene.
Replacing the old exhibits.
I know there's some sort of message about history and progress and all that bullshit, but there's no f***ing way a museum of natural history would do this. Do you know how old those donors are? Older than most of the exhibits themselves. Ain't no way those folks are going to replace the dioramas for AI interactivity.
People, Mr. Daly, love what's next.
Then why would they be coming to a f***ing natural history museum? Where did all this styrofoam come from? It wasn't there when the Sacagawea was initially packed in the crate. Hey, why did the T-Rex come to life way before the rest of the museum characters? Is there a pecking order of who comes awake and when? Who sets that? Do they play rock, paper, scissors? And if so, how does the T-Rex win?
The fact is, Larry, there's no one else here to speak on our behalf during business hours.
But there have been other night guards since Larry left, right? The museum didn't close for renovations the day he quit, and even with it being closed, they would still have someone there at night to make sure no one broke in, right? Why no guards?
Dexter, you don't know that.
Maybe I can buy that Larry learned to speak Hun, but he also learned to speak monkey? The f*** are these was upset with Larry about, sure, he hasn't been around lately, but it's not like it's his fault they're shipping off most of the exhibits to the Smithsonian. Artificial conflict in this movie is artificial.
No hard feelings, all right? It's gonna be fine.
Why would he put his hands back up there? He's been around this monkey for the past 2 years. He knows what its game is.
Achman Ross tablet will be remaining here with him.
And of course the tablet goes with these exhibits, and later we find out that Dexter steals it, but when did he steal it? Dexter was already in the crate, and the sun comes up right after Teddy tries to Roosevelt some parting words to Larry.
I'm afraid this night is the last.
Yo, T-Dog, you don't want to give them a heads up? I guess it's hard to tell someone they're going to die, but at least they could say their farewells to each other, right? Or they could fight for the right to stay here and continue their nightly animation. I don't know. Seems like a former Rough Rider would be a little more straightforward with his compatriots. Also, of all the exhibits, why are they keeping Teddy? He's the one example we saw being replaced by a f***ing hologram.
Jed?
Good old phone hangs up and the person on the other end gets a dial tone in a movie cliche. Seems like it's been a while since we cranked that sucker up.
The Smithsonian is actually 19 different museums. They're laid out around the National Mall.
While it's true that the Smithsonian has 19 museums associated with it, they're not all in the National Mall. They're not even all in Washington, D.C. There are some in New York City and even one in Virginia.
It looks like it runs underneath the entire Smithsonian.
Is Larry's kid a hacker or something? Homeboy's pulling up the blueprints of a federal building like he's Justin Bartha plotting to steal the Declaration of Independence. Of all the places to start searching for Natural History Museum exhibits, Larry goes immediately to the f***ing Air and Space Museum?
Hi, excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the Federal Archives?
Maybe she can tell you how to get to the seminar to explain how incredibly rude it is to interrupt a tour guide when she's working. Just going to glance over here and focus on some random touristy bobblehead nonsense. I'm sure I won't need to pull this information out again for any reason. You know, when he was in New York, Larry couldn't go a few seconds without getting a buzz on his phone, but he dropped everything to fly to D.C. and walk around the biggest museum in the world, and no one is trying to contact him? This woman is having to show the guard a ticket or some sort of identification, and Larry got in with a simple nod. Larry is now walking through the National Gallery of Art, which is not one of the 19 museums associated with the Smithsonian.
I don't know, did they run out of jokes at the interesting joke store that you shop at?
This pedantic Jonah Hill brand banter goes on for all to some time.
Look up most popular baby names in 1984. Brundon.
Obviously, Brundon was not one of the most popular baby names in 1984, but Brandon didn't even make the top 5 in any state with the exception of Louisiana. Also, Christopher, Michael, Joshua, and James were in just about every state. Let's be more creative with names, people. Sorry, I mean poople.
So just to be clear, so I can't do this, right?
The fact that these two are continuing to argue over nothing for this long is less annoying than the fact that they're apparently the only two people in this super popular museum, carrying your phone like this. Random cut to a shot of the Lincoln Memorial is random. And it's weird that the archive workers set these statues up like they would for an exhibit in the f***ing storage area. Sure, they may have ended up like this after the tussle last night, but no one's been down here since? Hank is scary, huh? Sure, Hank Azaria portraying an Egyptian pharaoh is problematic, but at least he hasn't had any other problematic roles in his career.
With it I shall unlock the gate to the underworld and bring forth my army from the land of the dead.
George A. Romero's Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian.
Hand it over.
Why don't movie villains ever just take the shit they want from the protagonist? He's got this motherfucker at spear point, but he still has to ask Larry to hand him the tablet?
I'm not my brother, Larry.
So then you're Daryl, or are you the other brother Daryl?
I will kill you and your friends in the blink of an eye.
But instead of actually doing that, I'll lock your friends up in a storage container and threaten you repeatedly, so there! I know Larry won in the last movie. When did he become f***ing Indiana Jones? He's been selling flashlights with George Foreman for the last however many months, not training for combat scenarios. This hungry hippo is not eating Larry right now, and it absolutely would be.
Take the wheel!
Aw man, they dragged poor Bill Hader into this, didn't they?
I said take the wheel! Oh, we're in it now. I love it! I love it!
Why is General Custer speaking with such a thick southern accent? He was from Ohio. Sure, accents may have been slightly different back then, but not this different.
Okay, so what's the plan here?
We're Americans! We don't plan, we do!
Sadly, this is accurate. Jiminy Crickets! How many kangaroos could possibly fit in that one crate? Was that the Coolio's limo of crates?
I was the first woman to fly the Atlantic. First woman to receive the Flying Cross.
Argumentative exposition. Argumentisposition? Also, movie still refuses to explain how all these mannequins coming to life have all the memories of who they're supposed to be. This is not actually Amelia Earhart.
I'm not one to shy away from danger.
How the did they not hit Amelia? And why did they throw the spears at her at all? How has Larry not run into another night guard yet? He's not an actual guard that's working there, so where are they? He's not even trying to be secretive, and even with that uniform on, he would still be a little cautious, no? I had no idea the Museum of Art was into carrying forgeries because American Gothic would have been displayed in the Art Institute of Chicago and not here. Larry and Amelia faceplant into this pavement and come up with nary a scratch on them.
Wow, 4 bars in 1945.
Yeah, but the call dropped with your son 10 minutes ago after descending one flight of stairs. Pick a reception lane, movie.
Excuse me, mind if I get in here?
This scene presupposes that this nurse lady is cool with getting kissed by anyone, and in actuality, I don't know who this woman is, but she should be consulted before this bullshit happens. They remove this painting from the wall, and 0 alarms go off.
I smell adventure, and damn it, I want in.
Unfortunately, this is how Amy Adams ended up in the cluster that was Batman v Superman.
Some of the most despicable, the most feared leader in all of history.
Can someone explain to me why Kamun-Ra knows all this, in addition to speaking perfect English? No? At that, I'm adding 20 extra sins because this movie's logic can kiss my taint.
This dress you're wearing, do we have to wear one of these too?
Says the man wearing what equally looks like a dress.
Why do you look at me when you say shut?
Yay, another Napoleon performance giving us a thick French accent when he never had one in real life. He spoke French, but it was a Corsican accent, which is much closer to Italian. Also, joke about Napoleon being short cliché.
The correct translation is Ivan the Awesome.
Movie has time for this.
Oh, please stop beating your gums, Mr. Daly. You haven't been able to take your cheaters off my chassis since the moment we met.
Cheaters off my chassis. Also going to assume she meant peepers, since that was slang in her period for eyes, and cheaters was slang for glasses. How the did they mobilize the evil army so quickly? Seemed like Kamun-Ra took forever to make his pitch to the henchmen. How did the guards not see Larry and Amelia? They're part of Napoleon's army, and should be some of the best trackers that have ever tracked, but they couldn't see around a fountain.
Were you guys like friends in college and just afraid now to both ruin your relationship?
How would Napoleon know about college hookups? Or the idea of a co-ed college? Also, I swear to God, there's so much bull time filler in this movie, it might as well be an Angry Birds sequel.
Our fight is not with you.
How the hell do they even know who Larry is? It's not like Kamun-Ra was passing around a picture at the villain meeting a few minutes ago. There's been a hole in this storage container this entire time, but the tiny people waited until now to escape.
You know, there are 2 words come to mind when I hear you talk.
I'm just trying to figure out how the Pharaoh or anyone could hear Jedediah talk. It would be like hearing an ant. And yes, I send this auditory issue in the first movie as well, but the question has never been answered, so it's still a problem and therefore still a sin.
Stay alive! I will find you!
Scene contains neither a Daniel Day-Lewis nor Madeline Stowe.
Now you let old Jedediah out of here, he's gonna get angry.
Why can't Jedediah just walk through those bars in the cage, which are relatively simple for him to get through? Damn, Kamun-Ra has a spare hourglass just sitting around in case he needs to torture a tiny character? What are the odds? Also, I know the sand is falling on Jed and may end up covering him, but it's not like he definitely won't survive this. Can he climb to the top of the sand and breathe normally after it's done falling?
Look, buddy, we don't want any trouble, all right?
And they shouldn't get in any trouble from it, because this octopus should be dead. It's been alive and not near water for too long. And yes, they were mannequins and whatever, so maybe it doesn't need water in the same way an actual aquatic creature would need, but these exhibits can die. Hence, the only reason Larry is even trying to figure the secrets of the tablet out is so he can save Jedediah's life.
Mr. Daly, we should be going to the sculpture gallery. I think there's someone there who might have a better thought on this.
Then why didn't she suggest this until now? Also, how does Amelia know anything about the geography of this museum? She's been down in the archives for who knows how long, and the tablet has only been here for a little while.
Hey, baby, check out the God show going on over here.
Apparently the thinker has been thinking about the power of boners since Rodin sculpted him. The movie spends way too much time on Amelia Earhart's latent horniness. While it is interesting to think about, well, I just mentioned the movie spends way too much time on this. It's funny to think how upset a lot of Star Wars fans were that the franchise would get too Disney-fied when Force Awakens was announced. I guess they totally forgot this happened.
Go! Go! All of you! Kill him! Bring me that tablet!
Well, if that's his plan, why did he send Larry on this translation journey in the first place? Hell, why did he ask Larry to do anything if he could have done it himself or gotten one of the henchmen to do the same thing?
Criminy, we're Jimmy jacked.
Jimmy jacked, really?
So Larry is questioning Jimmy Jack, but not Criminy? Also, it could be worse, Larry. You could get Jimmy John'd, which amounts to way too much lettuce on the coldest meat your teeth have ever bit down on, along with colon distress for at least 3 days.
They say a good man rules this union.
You'd think a Roman officer would have a firmer grasp on the practicalities of politics. And also, who says this? Honey, I Shrunk the Guy from the Trip movies.
If you're not excited by it, why do you do it?
Thing I asked my college girlfriend after the third time she fell asleep that night that she was down there for several minutes somehow ends up in the script. Okay, look, if the goddamn Lincoln Memorial comes to life after dark in this universe, you don't think anyone would see it? Hell, Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn would be drinking champagne on the steps and would definitely notice some bullshit. Also, they walked all the way down to the Lincoln Memorial from the Air and Space Museum. That's like almost the entire length of the National Mall, man. Ain't no way they're traveling that far just for a cheap peek at Honest Abe gaining sentience. Also, how far is the tablet's reach? Because if they've left the museum with it, and Abraham Lincoln didn't come alive until now, shouldn't all the museum's exhibits be dormant currently? Also times 3! The first film explained any exhibit outside would turn to dust at sunrise if they don't return back to the museum. And you couldn't be more outside than Lincoln is when morning comes. Maybe the memorial would be considered his place of rest. But I'm me, and this is still going to be a sin.
Can you stop narrating everything we're doing?
Daryl would be an ace at CinemaSins. Larry got the call from Jed last night, so obviously these assholes were up and active then. So how did they get back into place with no damage the evening before this?
Mr. Daly, I found your Einsteins.
Great. Hey.
Glad we solved that mystery. Now maybe we can figure out where Larry's black tie went between talking to the monkey and coming over to the desk.
Don't you get it, kid? You're looking for the secret number at the heart of the pyramids.
Well, whistle me, Dixie, the answer's pi.
Which is fascinating because the first time the Egyptians even had the concept of pi was over 800 years after the pyramids were built, and even then they had it wrong. They said it was 3.16, but sure, pi.
That's the way, we like it.
I have no idea how these erstwhile inanimate objects know anything about popular culture. There may be some whack explanation, but that explanation has already pissed me off.
Like the brilliant and famous general that I am.
The movie seriously puts most of its beloved characters in a box for most of the runtime and expects us to enjoy that
It's made out of spruce and canvas and good old-fashioned American ingenuity.
Possibly, but it's also only built for one person to fly in it. Oh, this is a flight of lies.
They're getting away!
I'm not rooting for these evil dickheads, but they do have weapons, right? Why are they tussling with the airmen when they could just chop and shoot their way through the crowd?
Things are about to get interesting.
Well, that would be a first for this movie. Monkey has flares. The monkey has flares. The monkey has flares! Ah, yes, Washington, D.C., famous for how it completely clears the out every day after night falls. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid.
Look a little nervous there, ramen noodle.
Where in Jedediah's lifespan as a cowboy action figure in a museum that comes to life every night has he had the occasion to learn about the wonderful culinary world of ramen? Everyone survives this, including the first plane ever made.
Do not touch this. This is a no touching zone.
Didn't the movie have the exact same dialogue during the Jonah Hill scene earlier? Maybe that's the point, but why is it the point?
You did all three. You spoke and you reached your hand across. Look.
That's only 2 things.
You okay?
Yeah. Thanks.
Sure, but he's also still surrounded by sand that apparently can suffocate him. Maybe want to break that open or something to give Jed some air? And seriously, What is up with the f***ing security in this place? There are apparently no guards because a fake one chose to put a suit on, and there are clearly no cameras and no f***ing alarms on the exhibits. This asshole domesticated and commanded a goddamn squirrel to do his bidding, and squirrels are well known to hate Steve Coogan.
This is your big rescue?
Oh no. This is!
What was the signal for the Lincoln statue to come crashing through the window? It's not like he could hear Roman Steve Coogan. As I pointed out already, none of the normal-sized humans should be able to hear him or Jedediah.
In half pigeons?
That's racist, especially coming from Abraham Lincoln. And just like that, poof, the movie's CGI budget was gone. What incentive do Common Raw's henchmen have to fight for him? Sure, Capone and Ivan the Terrible were, well, terrible people, but it's not like they were given any monetary compensation for this mission. Are they doing it out of the hateness of their hearts? Also, what is this final battle for anyway? Common Raw obviously lost his army, and the tablet is pretty much useless. But what the is he going to do even if he wins this thing? This scene was actually directed by Zack Snyder, who accidentally wandered onto the set while looking for Dr. Manhattan, who was on a union-mandated smoke break.
You smack! You kill!
Einstein coaching monkeys to fight feels like the beginning of a really shitty joke that no one ever wrote. Am I sending this movie for creating the potential of a terrible joke with a terribly unfunny scene? Yes. Yes, I am. Dude, what costume designer took the time to do this to Napoleon's pants? And why? And what? And how? And why? I'm sure Larry can handle himself, but are all these jackholes really just going to stand around and let these two go mano a mano? I thought they were on his side.
The Battle of the Smithsonian.
Oh, does that mean we can roll credits? Yep, New York City, famously known as the city that sleeps. This plane would, at max, carry 2 people, and there would certainly not be enough room for all of these exhibits.
You've given me the adventure of a lifetime in one night.
Yeah, f*** all that first woman to fly across the Atlantic and help pave the way toward gender and race equality bullshit. You got to hang out with Larry the f***ing night guard for a few hours. That's what really matters in life. How is he just walking into the museum right before sunrise? Was the door unlocked? Does he still have a key? Is night security a thing that hasn't existed since Larry quit working here?
Welcome home, son.
Larry's going to leave his lucrative job that's making worldwide deals to peddle his wares and support his child so he can go back to being a night security guard at the museum, and we're supposed to root for this hole?
Well, not exactly the same, obviously.
No.
Wait, what? So does Ricky Gervais just accept that these exhibits come to life at night, or does he assume a lot of animatronic work was done and actors hired without his knowledge? Either way, this ending, no matter how charming it might be, is bull. It's like David Brent is actually in charge of a museum.
Seriously, dude, these animatronics suck.
Kids. Movie teaches you that staring at a woman lustfully whom you've never met will get you a date.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
Where?
Forgot to tell you the plan for this Saturday. You, me, bar, beers, buzzed, wings, shots, drunk, waitresses, hot, football, Cornell Hofstra, slaughter.
No, let's hold off on the victory parade till we close.
Always be closing.
You have no plan, do you?
I have part of a plan.
What percentage of a plan do you have?
Aren't we going to see the basement?
There's no basement at the Alamo.
You see what happens when you touch it.
Are you threatening me?
I will literally. It's meant to illuminate.
I will personally hire men to f you for the next 10 years. Oh, we're in it now. I love it. I love it.
Sarah Halleman's boyfriend was into drugs and getting mixed up with some gangbangers.
What's the rumpus, Ace?
Amelia Earhart.
I'm like the unofficial scuba king of St. Bart, so if you are for scuba, I take you out on the boat, I show you the coral reef, and we have kind of like a scuba party.
You know, that sounds great, but we're not certified.
Well, I'll give you the combination after you give it.
Whoa, no touchy. No touchy.
Just remember, son.
Be excellent to each other.
Avengers!
Assemble.